Good day. Today's discussion would center on the idea of learning materials development. In learning materials development, it is important to consider the important concepts of independent learning. Independent learning would refer to the ability of students to organize the tasks and to analyze the tasks. Organization would mean the ability of students to make a plan on how to carry out the task, while analyzing the task is the ability of the student to analyze the instruction and thereby uh, make steps on how he or she will carry out the task. Independent learning is crucial in the use of learning materials. As such, it is important that whenever teachers develop learning materials, the teacher should keep in mind that the learning materials should facilitate critical analysis in terms of inquiry and problem-solving activities embedded in the learning material. Likewise, the learning material should always draw out from real-life experiences so that the learners who will use it can relate to it. Lastly, the learning material should assist learners in organizing their knowledge and reflect on their progress in learning. In terms of education principle, we have what we call ADDIE Model, which is one of the models that can be used in terms of materials development. ADDIE Model follows a step-by-step phases, namely analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. The analyzing phase or the analyze phase involves analyzing where the learners are. In every material developed for learning, it's important to identify what is the target grade level of this learning material. Likewise, it's important to assess what particular competency would be hit by the usage of this learning material. Looking into the curriculum would help the learning material developer to identify the essential learning competency on a particular grade level. Likewise, part of analyzing is identifying the key knowledge, skills, and attitude embedded in a competency. Once the learning material developer identifies the involved knowledge, skill, and attitude, or KSA, stated in a learning competency in a curriculum, the learning material developer can now develop his or her own learning outcomes for the learning material that he or she will develop. The next phase would be the design phase. So once the learning material developer was able to establish already the learning outcome that should be hit by the material to be developed, the developer should now design and decide on what would be the content of the learning material. This would include the different activities that should be embedded or included in the learning material. For example, in a module, if a learning material developer would be doing a module, he or she should assess what activity should be included in the module in such a way that it would hit the learning outcome established and set for that learning material. The learning material developer should decide on the activity. Should the first activity on the module should be reading first of key points, and then what would it follow next? Would it be an assessment already, or would it be an organization first of key points by the learner? Likewise, it's important that after activities are designed in the learning material, the developer should identify the resources needed to supplement and support the activity. Resources would involve pictures, storyboards, which may come from other sources. Once activities and resources are identified, the material developer should now decide on how it would be organized in the learning material. The development phase would involve putting up together all the plans and resources identified on the previous phases. This would also require that the developer examine the organization made and revise as needed, depending on whether it is clear and depending on whether really the activities included in the learning material hits the learning outcome set. The implementation phase would refer to the actual usage of the developed learning material. On this phase, it's important to be specified. It's important that information on how the material would be used be specified. This information would involve the prior knowledge needed by the learner to use the material, as well as the appropriate learning environment where the material can be used. The evaluation phase would provide feedback to the developer, not only on the usage of the material, but on the development and planning phase that has been conducted to produce the material. Information can be drawn out from feedback from those who use the material or from evaluation of experts on the topic or on the discipline which is targeted by the learning material. Consequently, there are considerations in the development of learning material like work module and workbooks, innovation and creativity, especially in terms of visualization of the content, in including what we call declarative knowledge in the learning material, or those knowledge which are produced or which came from research. These are static knowledge that might require more visualization. Likewise, it should be reflexive enough to trigger the learners to reflect on his or her progress of learning while using the learning material. Contextualization is important so that it can connect to the learners in terms of their cognitive capacity, in terms of their language use, and in terms of their learning style. Lastly, copyright compliance is important. Resources borrowed from other materials should be cited properly. I hope this presentation on learning materials development have enlightened you on how you will construct your own learning module, workbook, and other learning materials. Thank you and good day.